We all love the idea of control, right? The belief that if we plan every step, manage every detail, and prepare for every possible outcome, things will go smoothly. Life doesn't work like that. No matter how much you try to control it, things will slip through your fingers and you will face unexpected setbacks. The truth is, control is an illusion and failure is part of the journey. It's not something to fear, but it's something to embrace, because when things don't go as planned, that's when you grow, that's when you learn, that's when you adapt and become more than you were before. So instead of holding on to the need of control, maybe it's time to stop resisting life's flow and start trusting it. So the other day I was talking with my cousin about starting my podcast, and I showed him a couple of videos that I had already worked on, and we were talking about how things were going. Then he dropped a solid advice. He said, your first podcast, he told me, your first podcast won't be like your second, and your second won't be like your third, and your third won't be like your 10th. Each time you do something, you get better. You just have to keep going. And that really stuck with me because I feel it too, because right now I can see it. My first video definitely isn't like the video I'm making today. It's the same with failure. Every step forward gets you closer. The beginning might not look like the end, but that's the whole point. You just have to keep pushing and growing. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode for Better Mindset Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here again. So let's get into it. First thing first, people spend so much time trying to control everything in their lives, like trying to plan every step, avoid every mistake, and make sure nothing goes wrong. And then, the second something doesn't go as planned, they panic. They feel like life is against them, like they failed. Here's what they don't realize. Control is an illusion, and failure is the only way you grow. Control is an illusion and failure is the only way you grow. That's why people who fear failure never actually succeed. They're so focused on trying to control the outcome that they don't even allow themselves the space to mess up and learn. And that's a problem, because failing is literally how you get better. You can't skip it. You cannot skip failure. You can't avoid it either. It's a necessary part to grow. Most people don't see it like that. They think if they plan everything perfectly, if they make no mistakes, then everything will go smoothly. Nah, baby, life doesn't work like that. You don't get to control every outcome. You don't get to force things to go your way. And when you try to, you only stress yourself out. Think about it. How many times have you obsessed over something, trying to make it happen exactly the way you wanted, only for life to throw you in a completely different direction? You planned your future, but then opportunities changed. You thought someone would be in your life forever, but then they left. You thought you'd be somewhere by a certain age, for example, but you're not. And when that happens, most people think like they failed. They start doubting themselves. They start thinking, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I should just stop trying. But what if I told you that's actually the moment you're supposed to fail? That's the moment you're supposed to lose control, because that's when you grow the most. Think about anything you're good at right now. At some point you were terrible at it. At some point you had no idea what you were doing. Maybe it was a skill, maybe it was a new job, maybe it was just understanding people, but you figured it out, and you didn't do it by controlling everything. You did it by failing, learning, trying again. That's literally how life works. And the more you try to control things that aren't in your head, the more stress you bring into your life. You have to let go and trust that failing doesn't mean stopping, it means adjusting. For example, you lose a job, it's pushing you towards something better. Someone leaves your life, it's making space for the right people. A plan doesn't work out, maybe life has a different, or God has a different plan for you. The second you stop fighting failure and trying to control every detail, life actually gets easier. Because instead of stressing over what went wrong, you start asking, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? And once you start thinking like that, you can't lose. You become unstoppable, because every failure just becomes another step forward, and you stop wasting your energy trying to control things that were never used to control in the first place. And once you realize that, everything starts making sense. You stop stressing over the things that didn't go your way because you finally get it. Nothing was ever supposed to be fully in your control. Life doesn't care about your perfect little plans. It's gonna throw curveballs, switch up the path, and force you into situations you never saw coming. And yeah, sometimes it feels like it's hard. Sometimes it feels like you're losing, like nothing is working, like you're stuck watching everyone else move forward while you're still here dealing with another things. But that's when you have a choice. You can sit there frustrated trying to force things back to the way you wanted them to be, or you can trust that maybe, just maybe, this detour is exactly what you needed. Think about the times you wanted something so badly and it didn't happen. You probably thought that it was the worst thing ever, but fast forward a little and suddenly you're seeing why it had to happen this way. Maybe that rejection saved you from wasting years in the wrong situations. Maybe that failure led you to something 10 times better. Maybe losing control is exactly what pushed you toward the version of you that you were meant to become. Let me ask you this: when do we grow the most? Not when everything is going perfectly, not when we're in control. We grow when we're challenged, when we're uncomfortable, when things don't go as planned and we're forced to figure it out. That's where the real upgrade happens. Look at anyone who's built something in their life. Whether it's success, confidence, wisdom, whatever, every single one of them has failed more times than you can count. And if they had given up in the first time something went wrong, they wouldn't be where they are right now. And that's exactly what separates people who make it from people who stay stuck. The ones who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who keep going even when everything falls apart. They understand that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. They don't even sit around crying over what they can't control. They learn, they adapt, they take the situation as it is, they turn it into a lesson, and they keep moving. So if you are in that space right now where things feel like they're falling apart, where you feel like you've lost control, good. That means you're growing. That means you're about to level up. But only if you let yourself, only if you stop wasting time wishing things had gone differently and start focusing on what's next. You know what? The only real failure is staying stuck. The only real loss is being too scared to try again. Because at the end of the day, nothing great ever came from playing it safe and trying to control every little outcome. Once you stop obsessing over control and fearing failure, you start moving differently. You stop overthinking every step because you realize you don't need to have it all figured out to keep moving forward. You stop hesitating on opportunities just because they come with risks. You stop holding yourself back waiting for the perfect moment because you finally understand there is no such a thing. And you know what? The people who win in life aren't the ones who play it safe, avoiding failure at all costs. They are the ones who take the risk knowing they may fail, but they're doing it anyway. They're the ones who make decisions without needing a guarantee that everything will work out exactly as planned. Let me tell you something. One of the best things in your life will come from things that didn't go your way. For example, that rejection you were so upset about, maybe it saved you from something that wasn't meant for you. And that failure that made you question yourself, maybe it taught you something you would have never learned otherwise. That moment where you felt lost, where nothing was making sense, maybe that's what forced you to look at things differently and finally take the step you'd been avoiding. You won't always see in the moment, but later you will look back and realize, oh, that's why that had to happen. And let's not ignore the people aspects of this, okay? Because a lot of times we think that we can control how people act, how they feel about us or whatever. Like, you can do everything right and still lose people. You can give your best and still not be appreciated. You can love someone with everything you've got and they can still walk away. And if you spend your life trying to control that, trying to make people see your worth or forcing things to work when they're clearly falling apart, you're only hurting yourself. Like, sometimes you have to let people go. Sometimes you have to accept that what you wanted isn't what you needed. And the moment you stop trying to hold on to what's not meant for you, you make room for what is. The sooner you accept that you're not in control of everything, the more at peace you will be. The more you embrace failure instead of fearing it, the faster you will grow. The more you trust the process instead of resisting it, the more life will start to work in your favor. Because life isn't about avoiding the bad moments, it's about learning how to move through them, how to take the hit and keep going. And the thing is, once you truly get this, life stops feeling like a constant fight. You stop feeling like you're always one step behind, like you're failing just because things don't look exactly the way you planned. You start realizing that half of the stress you were carrying wasn't even from the situation itself. It was from your resistance to it. You were trying so hard to make things go in a certain way that you never even considered that maybe, just maybe, life knew better. Think about it. Every single time you've struggled, every time things didn't go how you wanted, you made it through, right? And not just that, you probably learned something. You probably grew in ways you didn't even expect. That thing you thought would break you, it didn't. That failure you thought it was the end, it wasn't. Life keeps going, and once you stop trying to micromanage every detail, once you stop letting failure define you, you start moving differently. And the people who don't get this, the ones who fear failure so much that they never take risks, they stay in the same place forever. They stay stuck in situations that don't fulfill them because they're too scared to start over. They hold on to jobs, relationships, habits that drain them because at least it's familiar, you know. They convince themselves that staying where they are is safer than failing. But what they don't realize, that is the real failure. Wasting years of your life avoiding discomfort, never growing, never taking chance on yourself. That's worse than any mistake you could ever make. Like every loss, every mistake, every moment where you feel like you've messed up, it all passes. But regret, that stays. Regret is what happens when you let fear make your decision for you. When you let the illusion of control keep you from actually living. When you wake up years from now and realize you spent more time avoiding failure than actually building your life you want, the life you wanted. And by then, you can't go back. Stop letting failure scare you. Stop wasting time trying to control things that were never yours to control. Start taking the risks you've been overthinking. Start trusting that even when things didn't go exactly how you planned, you will figure it out. You always have and you always will. And the second you start living like that, life starts opening up for you in ways you never saw coming. And that's when everything shifts. You stop stressing over the little things. You stop obsessing over what could go wrong. And you just, go for it. You stop needing every answer before you take a step, because now you get it. There is no perfect timing, no guarantee, no way to control every single thing in your life. And once you accept that, you actually start living. You start saying yes to opportunities without overthinking every possible way they could fail. You start putting yourself out there, knowing that rejection is just redirection, not a reflection of your worth. You stop being scared of to make mistakes, because you realize mistakes are literally how you grow. And instead of feeling stuck, instead of waiting for some magical moments where everything feels safe and certain, you move forward anyway. And yeah, you still fail sometimes. You will still have moments where things don't work out. That's life. That's normal. But now, instead of breaking down and thinking, why me? You will look at the situation and think, all right, what's next? You got what I mean? Like, instead of wasting days, weeks, or even years trying to fix things that are meant to fall apart, you will let go and make space for what actually meant for you. Instead of resisting the process, you will trust it. And that's what real freedom looks like. Not needing everything to go perfectly, not being afraid of the unknown, not wasting your time trying to control things that were never in your hand to begin with. Freedom is knowing you will be okay. No matter what, you will be okay. It's trusting yourself enough to handle whatever life throws at you. It's understanding that failure isn't the end, it's just a plot twice. When you finally stop trying to control everything, you open yourself up to the unexpected. You stop forcing things to fit into a box that was never meant for them. You stop worrying about how things are supposed to look or how fast you're supposed to go. You stop trying to follow someone else's blueprints for success and start writing your own story. That's the only story that matters, the one that feels true to you, not to what you think it's supposed to be. Like, you get a whole new perspective on life. Like, things don't feel so heavy anymore. You stop feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, because you're no longer trying to control everything. You start understanding that life has its own rhythm, and sometimes you have to let go and just, dance to it. You got what I mean? So stop being the person who plans everything to the tiniest details and become someone who adapts, who adjusts, who is flexible. You also start realizing that you don't have to have everything figured out in order to start. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. Ready is nothing. You just have to start, and you will find yourself ready, and you will find your way along the way. When you stop stressing over making the perfect decisions, you realize you don't need perfect at all. You need action. You need movement. You need to trust that every decision, even the bad ones, will lead you somewhere. Trust that no matter how things turn out, you can handle them. You know what? The most powerful thing that you can do is to stop waiting for the stars to align. Life isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to show up, to take action. So stop wasting time sitting on the sidelines. Life is about embracing what is in front of you, even if it's not what you expected. You don't know what's coming around the corner, and that's what makes it exciting. So start moving forward even when you don't know the exact next step, because when you do, you give yourself the chance to discover things you never could have imagined if you stayed stuck. So life is unpredictable, and that's exactly what makes it beautiful. You're not supposed to have everything under control. You're not supposed to have every piece of the puzzle figured out from the start. The key is to trust the process and understand the so-called failures aren't the end. So stop trying to force life to fit into your narrow version of success. Instead, you can stay open to the twists and turns, because those are often the moments that lead to something bigger and better than you ever imagined. My advice to whoever is watching this: let go of perfection. Let go of the fear of failure. Move. Even when you don't have all the answers, move. Embrace what comes next. Confidence, knowing you have the ability to adapt, to grow, to learn from whatever comes next. Nothing is wasted. Every experience, every setback, and every win adds to your story. It's not about being perfect. It's about being resilient, moving forward, and letting life unfold the way it's meant to. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode of A Better Mindset Podcast. I truly hope you enjoy it, and I hope that you found something valuable in it. And remember, growth comes from every step you take. So keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.